They say history is written by the victors. But in the galaxy, history is written by those loud enough to drown out the dead. 300 years ago, a species vanished. No war declaration. No survivors. No explanation. The Thalkai Empire, erased. Her name was Sci Vetra. Zarnian, scholar, neutral. She didn't believe in legends. She believed in ruins, in the voices that scream from beneath the ground. If you know how to listen, Dare Never. Third planet of a dead system. Surface pressure stable. Radiation minimal. And yet the city still stood. Shattered towers of glass. Fossilized mid-collapse. Frozen as if caught in the moment the sky fell. The Thalkai were once elegant, respected, founders of the Galactic Concord. And when humanity fell, they were among the first to sharpen the knife. The Retribution era didn't begin with an army. It began with coordinates, names, and silence. Sci descended into their ruins not seeking vengeance, but answers. She found a seal vault buried beneath a statue of a Thalkai elder. The entrance groaned open, untouched for centuries. Dust and decay gave way to a darkness that hummed with memory. Inside, smooth obsidian walls flickered with glyphs. At the center, a terminal, long dormant. It lit up as Sci approached. It responded to her touch, to her DNA. That wasn't supposed to happen. The Thalkai designed their systems to reject all outsiders, unless they had a reason not to. The hologram bloomed from the console, a blue sphere, Earth, and then a voice, distorted, broken, but unmistakably Thalkai. If you hear this, we are gone, not because we lost, because we were wrong. We stood by when others betrayed. We silenced our own when they dissented. And when the retribution came, we understood. We tried to bury the truth, but the truth remembers. Then came the names, millions of them, a scroll without end, a graveyard carved in data. Sci stood in silence. They hadn't just buried their dead. They buried their guilt, preserved it, encoded it in shame. She had come for archaeology. She had found a confession, a reckoning 3 centuries too late. And above the vault, the world remained quiet, waiting for someone to decide what came next. Sci Vetra had seen ruins before, collapsed temples, fossilized bones, but nothing like this. The Vault of Names wasn't a monument. It was an indictment. Each name was linked to a file, a face, a voice, a death. Some were soldiers, others children. Entire settlements erased, not in battle, but in retreat. Civilian transports, scrubbed from orbit. Orbital habitats vented into space. And then the footage began. The Thalkai had recorded everything, not just their fall, but the years leading up to it. Secret meetings, political debates, panic voices warning their empire not to join betrayal. Voices silenced, purged. Sci watched as Thalkai peacekeepers dragged dissenters from courtrooms. She watched as humanity's allies turned their backs. And she watched the first human dreadnought return. Silent, unstoppable, without negotiation. The footage showed orbital strikes, precision bombardments, entire fleets bypassed. Humanity didn't seek conquest, only annihilation. There were no ultimatums, no demands, only execution. And still, the Thalkai records didn't cry victim. We earned this, one message read. We watched them burn and we cheered. Now the fire has come to us. Sci's assistant couldn't take it. He left the vault, vomiting in the cold ash outside. But she stayed, eyes fixed, heart silent. This wasn't war. It was memory sharpened into a blade. She found one final file, locked behind a double cipher, a name attached to it. Human, encrypted, hidden, but not erased. She hesitated, because this wasn't just Thalkai history. It was humanity's, a piece of the past they'd buried with their enemies. And then she opened it. A face flickered to life. Human, male, worn, gaunt, cold eyes. He looked straight into the camera. If you're watching this, he said, then someone finally looked past the graves. We didn't come for justice. We came because there was no one left to ask for it. And by then, we weren't people anymore. We were memory, and memory doesn't forgive. Seelai felt her breath catch. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't hate. It was grief. Weaponized and unrelenting. The log ended with coordinates. Unmarked, hidden from star charts. Another system. Another truth waiting to be found. She knew what it meant. The vault wasn't the end. It was the beginning. And now she had a choice. Leave it buried like everyone else, or follow the trail into the dark. The coordinates led to a dead star. No planets, no records. A place not just forgotten, erased. Seelai went alone. No team, no sanction, no backup. The system was silent. Blackened satellites drifted like corpses. Every signal she sent was swallowed. Every echo came back, wrong. But the structure was there, hidden in the shadow of the star. A station, cracked, skeletal, still humming with power. Human design. She docked. The airlock groaned open, releasing air stale with centuries of silence. No lights, just a flicker of backup power pulsing through rusted conduits. This was no military base. It was a vault of a different kind. She found logs, voice recordings. Not Thalkai, not propaganda. Human voices, raw, broken, unfiltered. A woman weeping as she described the fall of Europa Station. A boy's voice, trembling, describing orbital strikes on Terran refugee ships. Doctors, engineers, civilians, names erased from the official records. But not here. This place wasn't a weapon. It was memory. Humanity's final record of the betrayal. And at the heart of it, another message. The same man from the Thalkai file. Older now, his voice hollow. We didn't want to become monsters. But when the galaxy showed us what mercy earned, we adapted. They called us a threat, a danger to peace. But they forgot who taught U.S. war. He paused, then stared into the lens. You can judge us, hate us, but understand this. We didn't burn empires out of rage. We burned them because we couldn't afford to be weak again. Seelai backed away from the screen. This wasn't about retribution anymore. It was about fear, a species that learned too well what happened when it trusted, and it terrified her. Not what they did, but how calm they were about it. No hatred, no pride, just necessity. She checked the logs again. Thousands of testimonies, all from the edge of extinction. Humanity hadn't screamed as it died. It had recorded everything. So when it came back, it remembered who was silent. Seelai stood in that dark tomb of voices, surrounded by stories the galaxy had buried. And she understood. This wasn't about proving who was right. It was about remembering who stayed quiet when the knives came out. She transmitted the files, all of them, to every major archive in the Concord. Then she left the station behind. A grave of memory now open. The silence of the stars fell heavier as she jumped away. Because truth, once seen, doesn't let you go. And she knew this was far from over. The data burst across the galaxy like wildfire. Files decrypted, voices exposed, names once scrubbed from history, now burned into the minds of billions. Governments scrambled. Concord officials called it fabrication, a psychological attack. False. But they couldn't stop the truth, because the voices were real. And people listened. Some demanded justice. Others wanted silence. But most just stared at the horror and whispered the same question. How could we have not known? Seelai Vetra became a target. Her license revoked. Assets frozen. But the message had already spread. Copied. Mirrored. Unstoppable. And then came the response. A signal. Old Earth protocol. Buried beneath layers of defensive encryption. It simply read, "You've heard our silence. Now hear our voice." Humanity had stayed quiet for 3 centuries. No diplomacy, no trade, no presence in the Concord. But they had watched. And when the truth came out, they didn't send warships. They sent an invitation. Seelai was brought to the edge of Terran space. No escort, no weapons. A single ship met her. Sleek, black, silent. She stepped aboard. The man from the recordings was waiting. Older now, eyes sharp but tired. "You want to understand," he said. "Now you will." She asked him why they didn't speak, why they didn't rebuild, why they didn't demand apologies, reparations, vengeance. His answer was simple: because we remembered. He gestured to the stars. We remembered what trust cost us, what silence cost us. So we stopped asking. We started surviving. They showed her the archives, not just Thalkai, every species, every betrayal, every silence. "Not for war," he said, "for memory, so we never forget what peace without accountability becomes." Seelai realized the truth. Humanity wasn't sleeping. It was watching, waiting, not to strike, but to see who would stand with the truth and who would bury it again. She returned to Concord space a marked woman. Some hailed her as a whistleblower. Others called her a traitor. But it didn't matter, because the galaxy had changed. The myths of humanity's wrath were no longer just whispers. They were history, documented, preserved, undeniable. And the Concord had to choose, face its past, or risk repeating it. Seelai Vetra went back to the ruins, not to dig up bones, but to build something new, because among the ashes of empires, she found something terrifying and beautiful, a species that had been broken and refused to ever be broken again.